My girlfriend screamed, "You're too clingy. Give me space." Because I asked where she was at 3 a.m. I said, "Okay." I blocked her number, packed my stuff while she slept, and moved to another state without a word. 3 years later, she found me, and then, I, 26 male, still remember the exact moment everything broke. It was 3 a.m. on a Thursday. I woke up and she wasn't in bed. Not the first time, but something felt off. Her phone was going crazy with notifications downstairs. I texted, "Hey, you okay? Where are you?" Simple question, right? Worried boyfriend checking in at 3 a.m. when his girlfriend of 2 years vanished without a word. My phone exploded with a call 30 seconds later. "Are you serious right now?" She was screaming, actually screaming. "You're checking up on me at 3 a.m.? Do you have any idea how suffocating you are? I just woke up and you weren't here." I was worried. "No, you're controlling. This is exactly what I'm talking about. You're always breathing down my neck, always asking questions, always needing to know everything. I can't do this anymore." My brain was still foggy from sleep. "Do what?" "You're too clingy. I need space. God, why can't you just give me space?" The line went dead. I sat there in our apartment, in the dark, phone in my hand. 2 years together, living together for 8 months. And I was too clingy. For asking where she was at 3 a.m. Something in me just clicked off, like a switch. I looked around the apartment. Most of the furniture was mine from my previous place. The lease was in my name because her credit was garbage. I paid 70% of everything because she was between jobs for 6 months. "Okay," I said out loud to the empty room. She came home at 6:23 a.m. I pretended to be asleep. She slipped into bed like nothing happened, smelling like cigarettes and something else I didn't want to identify. Her phone never stopped buzzing. I waited until she was completely passed out. Then I got to work. Called my boss at 8 a.m. "Family emergency. Need to take my vacation days starting today." He was cool about it, asked if everything was okay, told him I'd explain later. Didn't really plan to. Called my buddy who owed me like 5 favors. "I need your truck and your muscles today. I'll pay for gas and buy you whatever you want." He showed up at 10 a.m. She was still dead asleep, probably hungover from whatever the heck she was doing all night. We moved fast. Every piece of furniture I owned went into that truck. My clothes, my electronics, my kitchen stuff, everything. My buddy didn't ask questions, just kept loading boxes. I left her stuff. Her clothes, her makeup, that expensive hair straightener she just had to have, that I paid for. Even left the bed since she was sleeping in it. Not my problem anymore. Took all my documents, birth certificate, passport, everything. Canceled my name from the utilities right there on my phone while my buddy drove the last load to his place for storage. Went to the bank. We had kept separate accounts, thank God, but I'd been Venmoing her money for groceries and gas every week. Canceled my Venmo, deleted the app, changed my phone number at the carrier store. New SIM card, new number. Done. Then I did something crazy. Remember how I said I'd been planning to propose? Yeah, I was that stupid. Had a ring and everything. $4,200 I'd saved up over a year. Went straight back to the jeweler, explained the situation. Took a hit on the return, but walked out with $3,100 in cash. Used that money and my savings to put a deposit on an apartment in another state. Had a job offer there I'd turned down 6 months ago because she said she couldn't leave her friends. Called them back. Position was still open. Started in 2 weeks. The whole operation took 11 hours. By 9 p.m. I was gone. No note, no explanation, no goodbye. She wanted space? She got infinite space. Blocked her number before the new SIM card even activated. Blocked her on everything, social media, email, all of it. Blocked her friends, her sister, everyone. Slept at my buddy's place that night. He kept looking at me like I'd lost it. "You good, man?" "Yeah," I said. And weirdly I was. Felt nothing. Just done. Drove 15 hours the next day to my new city. Started my new job 2 weeks later. New apartment, new life, new phone number. Completely clean break. That was 3 years ago. Update 1. Life was actually pretty decent. The new job paid better, made new friends. Started seeing someone about 8 months ago. Nothing serious but healthy. Went to therapy for a while, worked through my trust issues. Bought decent furniture. Lived alone and liked it. Then last Tuesday, I'm at a coffee shop near my office doing some work on my laptop. Someone sits down across from me. "So this is where you've been hiding." I looked up. My ex-girlfriend. Sitting there like we'd just seen each other yesterday, not 3 years ago. My brain short-circuited. What? Took me forever to find you. You just vanished, changed your number, deleted everything. Do you have any idea what you put me through? I closed my laptop. How did you find me? Your friend finally told me where you went. Took some convincing, but I can be very persuasive. She smiled like this was cute. We need to talk. No, we don't. I started packing my stuff. She grabbed my wrist. Yes, we do. You left. No explanation. No nothing. You just disappeared like a coward. You told me I was too clingy and needed space. I gave you space. That's not what I meant, and you know it. I was just stressed that night. At 3 a.m.? When you weren't home? Her face twitched. I was with friends. Girls' night ran late. Cool. Enjoy your space. I pulled my wrist back and stood up. Wait. She stood too, voice getting loud. People were staring. I'm pregnant. The coffee shop went quiet, or maybe that was just my ears ringing. Congratulations. I'm sure the father will be thrilled. You're the father. I actually laughed. Couldn't help it. Math doesn't work. We broke up 3 years ago. That would make your pregnancy roughly 1,095 days along. Pretty sure that's a record. Don't be stupid. It's from before. I didn't find out until... Stop. I held up my hand. I'm not doing this. Whatever scam you're running, find someone else. It's not a scam. The baby is 2. I have a 2-year-old son and you're his father. Okay, that changed things. Not that I believed her, but now there was a timeline that technically worked. Show me. What? Show me a picture, birth certificate, something. She pulled out her phone, hands shaking, showed me a photo. Kid looked like any random 2-year-old. Brown hair, blue eyes, could have been anyone's. Birth certificate says father unknown, she added. I didn't know where you were, but he's yours. I know he is. DNA test. Set it up. If the kid is mine, we'll figure it out. If not, lose my number. Again. Are you serious? After everything you put me through, you're questioning. You showed up after 3 years claiming I have a kid. Yeah, I'm questioning it. DNA test or we're done here. She went quiet, doing that thing where her jaw clenched. Fine, but when it comes back positive, you owe me 3 years of child support, backdated. If it comes back positive, lawyers will figure out what I owe, not you. I walked out, got in my car and sat there for 20 minutes, hands shaking. A kid? After 3 years, the timing was technically possible. We'd broken up right before I left, so if she was already pregnant when I ghosted, no, something felt wrong. Really wrong. I called my buddy from back home. Hey, weird question. Did my ex ever call you asking where I moved? Dude, she called me like 80 times over 6 months. I told her I didn't know. You said she finally convinced you. Pause. No, I never told her anything. Haven't heard from her in like 2 years. So she lied about how she found me. Great start. Update 2. She texted me from a number I didn't have blocked. DNA test scheduled for Saturday 2 p.m. Be there or I'm filing for child support without you. Cool. More threats. I responded, send me the address and lab name, I'll verify it's legitimate. She sent a place I'd never heard of. Googled it. Quick results DNA lab. Fast, affordable, confidential. Red flags everywhere. Website looked sketchy. Reviews were either 5 stars or 1 star. Nothing in between. I called a lawyer friend. Don't go to that lab, he said immediately. Schedule your own test through a certified facility. Court admissible results only. So I texted her back. Not using that lab. Here's a list of 3 court-approved facilities. Pick one, and I'll meet you there. Her response, are you serious? I already paid for this one. You can't just change everything to suit you. You're so controlling. There it was. That word again, controlling. Court-approved lab or no test? Your choice. She called me 12 times. Didn't answer. Then her mother called from a number I also didn't have blocked. You need to stop playing games with my daughter. She's been through hell raising your child alone while you lived it up in another state. Hi. This is the first I'm hearing about any child. I'm happy to take a DNA test through a legitimate facility. If you know where I am, you know I have a job and stability. If the child is mine, I'll handle my responsibilities through lawyers and courts. She doesn't want lawyers. She just wants you to be a father. Then she should have told me 3 years ago. Now everything goes through official channels. If you'll excuse me. You owe her. Do you know what she went through? Pregnant and abandoned, she had to move back in with us. She couldn't work. Her whole life fell apart because of you. She told me I was too clingy and needed space. I gave her exactly what she asked for. She was scared. She didn't know how to tell you about the baby. You traumatized her with your jealous, controlling behavior. This was fascinating in a horrible way. 3 years later, and suddenly I was the villain. The controlling, jealous boyfriend who traumatized her. Not the guy who got screamed at for asking a simple question at 3 a.m. "Ma'am, I'm hanging up now. Tell your daughter to pick one of the labs I sent or we're done." She picked one. Finally. Saturday morning, 11 a.m. Court-approved facility with proper chain of custody procedures. I got there 30 minutes early. She showed up 10 minutes late with her mother and a guy. Boyfriend? Baby daddy? No idea. The kid was there. Cute kid, actually. Looked tired and confused. Kept asking, "Who's that about me?" "This is someone we need to talk to," she told him. The lab tech explained the process. Cheek swabs, proper documentation, results in 3 to 5 business days. The kid started crying when they tried to swab him. She got annoyed. "Stop being difficult. Just open your mouth." The kid cried harder. I don't have experience with kids, but even I knew you can't just yell at a crying 2-year-old and expect compliance. The tech offered to try again in a few minutes. We waited in awkward silence. Her mother kept glaring at me. The boyfriend kept scrolling his phone. Finally got the swabs done. I provided mine. Signed all the paperwork. They said results would be emailed. As I was leaving, she followed me to my car. "When this comes back positive, we need to talk about money." "Through lawyers." "Stop saying that. I don't want lawyers involved. I just want you to help support your son. If he's mine, I will. Properly. Legally. Not whatever under-the-table arrangement you're trying to set up." "You're still controlling everything. This is exactly why I needed space from you." I turned around. "You vanished at 3 a.m. and screamed at me for asking where you were. Then I left and you had 3 years to reach out through legal channels if there was actually a child. You chose now. You chose showing up randomly. You chose a sketchy DNA lab first. So yeah, I'm controlling the situation by making sure everything is legitimate and documented. Deal with it. You're going to regret this. When you see how much child support costs, when you see what you missed, you're going to regret being such a jerk. Maybe. Or maybe I'll regret wasting 2 years on someone who thought screaming at me at 3 a.m. was appropriate communication." Her mother came out then. "Leave my daughter alone. You've done enough damage." I got in my car and drove away. Spent the rest of the weekend feeling weird. If the kid was mine, my life was about to change dramatically. If he wasn't, this was an insane scam attempt. Wednesday afternoon, the email came. I was in a meeting, but I excused myself to the bathroom to read it. Results. 0% probability of paternity. Not mine. Not even close. 0%. I forwarded the email to the lawyer friend. "What now?" He called me immediately. "She tried to commit paternity fraud. You could potentially press charges, but honestly, just keep this documentation and block her again. If she tries anything legal, you have proof." She wasted my time, my money for the test. She lied. "Yeah, but engaging further just invites more drama. You have proof the kid isn't yours. That's all you need." He was right, but I was angry. 3 years of peace, and she showed up to try to trap me with a kid that wasn't even mine. I forwarded her the results without comment. 5 minutes later, my phone started blowing up. Different numbers, all calling. I answered one. "You sabotaged the test," she was shrieking. "You paid them off or something. There's no way. It's a court-approved facility with chain of custody documentation. I didn't touch anything. The kid isn't mine. We're done." "No. We are not done. You owe me for the 3 years I spent. You spent 3 years lying. Goodbye." I hung up and blocked every new number that called. Changed my number again that afternoon. New SIM card, new number, messaged only the people who needed it. Cost me $35 in an hour of my time. Worth it to never hear from her again. Update 3. Thought that was the end. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. 2 weeks later, I got served at work. A process server showed up at my office with papers. Lawsuit. She was suing me for emotional distress and financial damages stemming from abandonment during a vulnerable time. She was claiming $45,000. Broke it down as $15,000 for emotional trauma from abandonment, $10,000 for medical expenses related to stress-induced conditions, $20,000 for lost wages and career opportunities due to psychological damage. My boss was super cool about the process server thing, but I was humiliated. Got served at work. In front of colleagues, I immediately called a lawyer. Real one this time, not just my friend. Attorney specialized in this kind of garbage. She read the papers and actually laughed. This is one of the weakest cases I've seen. You weren't married, you weren't living together under common law, and you had no legal obligation to notify her of your relocation. She's grasping at straws. Can she actually win? Highly unlikely. But we need to respond and defend. It'll cost you some money, but probably less than engaging in this circus would cost emotionally. Cost me $2,500 up front for the lawyer. Whatever. I wanted this done properly. The lawyer sent a response that included the DNA test showing the child wasn't mine, documentation that she tried to use a non-certified lab first, text records of her calling me controlling, I'd kept screenshots, proof that I'd maintained steady employment and had legitimate reasons for relocating. We also filed a counterclaim for attempted paternity fraud and harassment. Her lawyer, some discount guy she found, tried to argue that I owed her because I'd been financially supporting her during the relationship and she'd become dependent on that support. My lawyer's response basically said, helping pay bills during a relationship doesn't create a legal obligation after it ends. People break up. That's life. The case dragged on for 6 weeks. Discovery was interesting. She had to provide evidence of her stress-induced medical conditions. Submitted some therapy bills and receipts for anxiety medication. My lawyer found her social media. She'd forgotten to make it private. Posts from 2 weeks after I left showed her at parties, concerts, bars. Living my best life finally, was one caption. Another, single and free. Thank God that's over. Didn't exactly scream traumatized by abandonment. We showed up to court for the hearing. She wore a conservative dress, looked sad, kept dabbing her eyes. Her mother was there for support. The boyfriend wasn't. Her lawyer went first. Whole sob story about how I'd emotionally abused her during our relationship by being possessive and controlling, then cruelly abandoned her when she needed me most. The judge asked, did your client ever attempt to contact him through proper legal channels? File a missing person report? Her lawyer stuttered. Well, no, but did she know where he worked, where he grew up, any family contact information? She tried to find him, but he blocked her. Blocked her on social media is not the same as being unreachable through legal means. Continue. They tried to make the pregnancy thing work even though DNA proved the kid wasn't mine. Claimed I'd caused her emotional distress during that vulnerable time, regardless of paternity. Judge was not impressed. Then my lawyer presented our side. Clean, simple timeline. We dated. We lived together. I paid most bills. She stayed out until 6 a.m. and screamed at me for asking where she was at 3 a.m. I legally ended our cohabitation by removing my belongings from my apartment. I relocated for a job opportunity. 3 years later, she ambushed me with a false paternity claim. When proven false, she filed a frivolous lawsuit. My lawyer presented the social media posts showing her living her best life weeks after I left. Presented text records of her calling me controlling. Presented the DNA results. The judge looked tired. Ma'am, people end relationships, sometimes suddenly. That's not illegal. You were not married. You had no children together. He had no legal obligation to maintain contact or provide support after ending the relationship. Your claim of abandonment has no legal merit. But he just left. No explanation. I had rights. The judge actually removed his glasses. You had the right to a relationship that both parties wanted to be in. He exercised his right to end it. Case dismissed. Then he looked at our counterclaim. As for attempted paternity fraud, I'm inclined to believe there was an attempt to deceive. However, I don't see malicious intent that rises to criminal level. I'm ordering the plaintiff to pay defendant's legal fees, $2,500. She gasped. I don't have $2,500. You should have thought about that before filing a frivolous lawsuit. You have 90 days. Dismissed. Outside the courthouse, her mother started yelling at me. You ruined her life. She had to move back home. She's drowning in debt, all because you couldn't handle a real woman. Your daughter screamed at me for asking where she was at 3 a.m., lied about having my child, tried to scam me with a fake DNA test, and then sued me when that didn't work. She ruined her own life. I just refused to be part of it. She loved you. She loved the 70% of bills I paid. There's a difference. My lawyer pulled me away before I could say more. Don't engage, you won, walk away. In the car, I felt empty. Not happy, not sad, just tired. This whole thing had cost me time, money, emotional energy. 3 years of peace disrupted because she thought she could manipulate me one more time. The $2,500 in legal fees she owed me, never saw a dime. She filed for bankruptcy 6 months later, found out through my lawyer friend, who kept tabs on the case number out of curiosity. Last I heard through the grapevine, mutual friend who didn't know our history, she'd moved back to our hometown, was engaged to some guy, and was apparently still telling people I'd abandoned her when she needed me most. Some people never learn. Never take accountability. Just stay bitter and entitled forever. As for me, changed my number one more time after the court case. Deleted all social media except a private account with like 15 people on it. Made it as hard as possible to be found. Been with my girlfriend for a year now. Healthy relationship. Actual communication. When she's out late, she texts me. When I ask where she is, she tells me without screaming about being controlled. Turns out that's possible. Who knew? Never told her the full story. Maybe someday. For now, it's just a weird chapter in my past. The time my ex tried to baby trap me 3 years after I ghosted her, and somehow I ended up in court for abandonment. Still have the court documents. Kept them, just in case she ever tries again. Proof that I owed her nothing then. Owe her nothing now. You want space? Be careful what you wish for. Some people take you seriously. My wife faked a home invasion and blamed my best friend to get me to cut him off. I replied, I'll call the police. Then I showed the cops the living room camera footage of her staging the break-in herself. The look on her face when the officer said, "Ma'am, put your hands behind your back." I, 36 male, have had a best friend, Julian, 35, and a wife, Alara, 33. Julian and I have been friends since college and built a small software company together from my garage. Alara and I have been married for 5 years. The problem is, Alara has always hated Julian. Not in an overt, I hate him way. It was subtle. Poison. Don't you think Julian is a little too dependent on you? I just worry he takes advantage of your good nature. All those late nights at the office. Are you sure it's a good idea to have him over for dinner again? It's our time. I always defended him. Alara, he's my business partner and my best friend. He's family. This, I learned, was precisely the problem. She wanted to be the only family. I'm a bit of a home security nut. Not because I'm paranoid, I just like tech. We have a few cameras in the common areas, all visible, all feeding into a local NVR network video recorder in my office, which also backs up encrypted footage to my private cloud server. Alara knew about them. She called them my nerd toys. Last week, I had to fly out for a 2-day client pitch. It was supposed to be Julian's trip, but Alara suddenly had a minor car accident, a fender bender in a parking lot, and was too traumatized for me to leave her alone with Julian. So I switched. I went. Julian stayed to mind the office. I'd been gone maybe 30 hours when my phone blew up. It was Alara, hysterical, sobbing, hyperventilating. "Leo, oh God, Leo, someone broke in. They smashed everything." My blood went ice cold. "Are you okay? Did you call the police? I'm hiding in the closet. I just got home and the living room is..." "Oh, Leo," she wailed. They took your grandfather's drafting tools." My stomach clenched. Those tools are irreplaceable. They sat in a vintage wooden box on my office shelf. They have zero cash value but mean the world to me. "Alara, hang up and call 911. I'm getting the next flight." "No, wait," she shrieked. "Leo, I think I saw who it was. When I pulled up, someone ran out the back. He was wearing that green jacket, the one Julian always wears." Silence. My brain just stopped. "What?" "It looked just like him, Leo. He must have used his key. He knew you were gone. He knew I was at my mom's. He's the only one who knew how much those tools meant to you." She was full-on sobbing now. "He's always been jealous of us. He's trying to frame you or hurt us." I stood there in my sterile hotel room, and the most awful, cold, clear feeling settled over me. It wasn't anger. It wasn't panic. It was certainty. Alara, I said, my voice dangerously calm. That is an incredibly serious accusation. I'm calling the police. Don't touch anything. I hung up before she could reply. But I didn't call 911. I opened my laptop, typed in my server address, and navigated to the security NVR. Just as I expected, the living room camera and office camera were both offline. Status, unplugged. She knew which ones to pull. She's smart, but I'm smarter. She forgot about the tiny, wide-angle foyer cam that I'd installed 2 months ago behind a bookshelf, the one I'd told her was defective and was meaning to send back. I clicked the cloud backup. I scrolled back 1 hour, and I watched. I watched my wife, Alara, walk into the living room, perfectly calm in her yoga pants. I watched her go to my office. I watched her unplug the office cam, then the living room cam. I watched her return to the foyer, still in view of the defective cam, and pull a cheap vase from the hall table. I watched her drop it on the tile floor. I watched her go back to the office, out of view, and return holding the wooden box of my grandfather's drafting tools. I watched her walk to the kitchen, grab her oversized tote bag, and carefully place the box inside it. I watched her pull a few books off the shelf, toss the mail on the floor, and yank a cushion off the couch. Then I watched her walk to the hall closet, pull out her phone, take a deep breath, and dial my number. I saved the 4-minute clip. I downloaded it to my phone. Then I called the local, non-emergency line for my precinct. Hello, my wife has just reported a home invasion at 123 Apple Street. I am the homeowner. I am currently out of town, but I have video evidence of the entire event I need to share with the responding officers. Please have them wait for me. I am on my way from the airport. The evidence is sensitive. I booked a flight that left in 70 minutes. I was on the ground in 3 hours and at my house in 3.5. 2 police cars were outside. Alara was on the porch, wrapped in a blanket, talking to a younger cop, Brody. A second, older officer was taking notes. Alara saw me, ran over, and tried to collapse into my arms. Leo, it was awful. I didn't hug her. I just put my hands on her shoulders and held her at arm's length. The police are here, Alara. You're safe. Her eyes flickered. She'd sensed the change. Officer Reyes approached. Mr. Last Name, you're the homeowner? You called our dispatcher about video evidence? Yes, officer, I said. My wife has been telling me her theory about my friend Julian. Alara nodded, tears welling. I saw him, officer. He ran right past the window. I see, Reyes said, writing. That's a felony charge, ma'am. Burglary. You're sure you're willing to testify to that? Absolutely, Alara said, puffing up with indignation. He's a horrible person. Okay, I said. Officer, before you go knocking on my friend's door, could I show you this? It's from my foyer camera, the one my wife and the intruder apparently missed. I pulled out my phone. Alara's face went white. A camera? What camera? Leo, what are you? The defective one, honey. I guess it fixed itself. I hit play. Reyes and Brody huddled around my phone. Alara stood frozen, her mouth slightly open. They watched the whole thing. The vase, the office trip, the tote bag, the staged mess, the phone call from the closet. Brody's eyebrows disappeared into his hairline. Reyes finished watching, let out a long, slow sigh, and looked up. Not at me, at my wife. Alara Last Name. No, Alara shrieked, her voice cracking. That's a fake, a deep fake. Leo, you did this. You and Julian. You're framing me. Ma'am, Officer Reyes said, her voice flat. I'm looking at a time-stamped, encrypted file from a private security server. He's been on a plane. You're here, on video, committing a crime. Or several, actually. What crime? I was just cleaning. Ma'am, Reyes said, cutting her off. She was done. Filing a false police report is a serious offense. Wasting police resources is a serious offense. Conspiracy to commit, well, we'll let the DA figure that out. Put your hands behind your back. The look. It wasn't sadness. It wasn't remorse. It was pure, unadulterated rage. The look of a cornered animal. You bastard, she screamed at me as Brody cuffed her. You're choosing him over me? After everything? You'll regret this. You'll be nothing without me. She was still screaming as they put her in the car. I just stood there, in my fake ransacked living room. The silence was deafening. Then I picked up my phone and called Julian. Dude, I said, my voice shaking for the first time. You are not going to believe this, but first, are you at home? And do you have an alibi for the last 3 hours? Update 1. It's been 2 weeks since the staging. My life has been a blur of lawyers, police statements, and boxes. First, the fallout. Alara was charged with filing a false police report, a serious misdemeanor in my state, borderline felony given the value of the non-existent theft, and misuse of emergency services. Her parents, Arthur and Beatrice, bailed her out within hours. She's staying with them. I filed for divorce the next day. I retained the best and most shark-like lawyer in the city. When I showed her the video, she didn't even smile. She just said, "Oh, this is clean. Very clean." I had a locksmith change the locks and reset all the garage codes within an hour of her arrest. My lawyer immediately filed for an emergency motion, granting me exclusive use of the house, premarital asset bought and paid for by me before I ever met her, which the judge signed off on instantly given the circumstances, i.e. wife faking a crime. Now, the entitlement. It began with her parents. I got a call from her father, Arthur. Not a "how are you," but a demand. "Arthur, Leo, you need to call off your lawyers now." "That's not happening, Arthur. You are destroying our daughter. You have humiliated her. This is a family matter, and you brought the police into it. You don't do that." Me. She tried to have my best friend arrested for a felony, Arthur. A man who has never been anything but kind to her. She tried to ruin his life. She was just desperate for your attention, Leo. She loves you. She sees how that man dominates your time and your business. She just wanted you to see. A wife has a right to be the center of her husband's life. You owe her that. Me. I owe her nothing. She's a criminal. I'm having her belongings packed and sent to your address. Don't call me again. I hung up. Then came the dirty trick. I got a fraud alert from my bank. I'd frozen all her supplementary credit cards on my accounts. She was just an authorized user the night of the arrest. Apparently, Alara had called the bank, claimed I had stolen her wallet, and was trying to report me for financial abuse. She was trying to get a new card with a new number, issued and overnighted to her parents' address. The bank rep, "Sir," she was very convincing. She said you were unstable and had violent outbursts. But since you, as the primary account holder, had already placed a security freeze, it triggered a high-level review. Me. Please note on the account that she is not to be trusted, that she is currently facing criminal charges, and that any attempt to access my accounts is fraudulent. I forwarded that little tidbit to my lawyer, who added it to the growing Alara's bad faith actions file for the divorce. Julian is rattled. He had to give a formal statement to the police, confirming he was at the office. Security-badged entry logs confirmed it, lol, and had no knowledge of any of this. The police found my grandfather's drafting tools in the tote bag in the trunk of Alara's car, right where I told them it would be. They're still in evidence pending the trial. I can't even get them back yet. That, more than anything, makes me furious. Now, Alara's legal strategy is something. Her lawyer is trying to claim extreme emotional duress. She's painting me as the villain. Her claim, I was a cold, unavailable husband who was emotionally abusive through my codependent relationship with Julian. She's arguing that she's the real victim, and that the video was taken without her consent, and is inadmissible. My lawyer just laughed. It's a common area, not a bathroom. It was for security, not voyeurism. And the charges aren't for what she did on the video, the staging. The charges are for lying to the police, which she did, verifiably. After the video was taken, she's toast. This is a mess. I'm sleeping in the guest room because I can't stand being in the master bedroom. I'm packing her stuff myself. Found a stash of receipts for hotels and dinners. All for one. Or so they say. My lawyer's looking into it. She really thought she could get rid of Julian, have me all to herself, and I'd just... What? Thank her? The delusion is staggering. Update 2. It's been a month. The entitlement has, as one of you predicted, gone supernova and achieved a kind of toxic godhood. First, the flying monkeys. I'm not on social media much, so she couldn't do a public smear, plus her lawyer probably told her not to, given the criminal charges. So, she's unleashed her friends personally. I've gotten a dozen texts and calls from numbers I don't recognize, all from her friends and some of our mutuals, giving me the same script. Leo, you're being so cold. She's a victim. She just made a mistake. Are you really going to ruin her life over one mistake? You know, Julian always had a weird vibe. Are you sure he didn't do something to provoke her? And my personal favorite from her maid of honor, "Don't you know women just do things like this when they feel unheard? She was just crying out for help. You should be in therapy with her, not in court against her." I replied to that one, "She cried help by trying to send an innocent man to prison. Blocked." My block list is now impressively long. The divorce battle. Alara is now, and I am not joking, demanding the house, my premarital asset, half of the business, claiming she was an unpaid emotional support partner and consultant, LMAO, and $10,000 a month in alimony. My lawyer's response was, "This is a kitchen sink demand. It's what desperate people with zero leverage do. We will respond accordingly." Accordingly meant a counterfiling for her to pay my legal fees, citing her criminal conduct and bad faith fraud attempts. But that's not the dirty trick. This is what sent me over the edge. Julian has a 7-year-old daughter, Maya, from a previous marriage. He's a fantastic dad. Last Tuesday, Julian got a knock on his door. It was Child Protective Services. An anonymous tip was called in. The tipster claimed Julian was emotionally unstable, had violent associates, that's me, I guess, and was bringing strange men around his daughter. That's also me. They claimed he was leaving Maya alone at night to go conduct business. At odd hours. Julian was, and is, terrified. This is his daughter. He had to submit to interviews, a home inspection. Maya had to be interviewed by a social worker at her school. It was humiliating, invasive, and horrifying for him. I was livid. I knew in my bones, it was Alara. This wasn't just trying to ruin my life anymore. She was now attacking Julian's child to punish him for existing and to punish me for supporting him. I called my lawyer. She's going after Julian's kid. My lawyer for the first time sounded angry. This is criminal harassment, and it is spectacularly stupid. We file for an emergency restraining order. Now, and I'm calling the district attorney. The Revenge Part 1. My lawyer immediately contacted the DA handling Alara's false report case. My client's ex-wife, your defendant, is now engaging in a campaign of targeted harassment against the victim of her original false report, Mr. Julian. She has, we are certain, filed a false and malicious CPS report against him. The DA, who was apparently considering a lenient plea deal, probation therapy, was not pleased. This moved Alara from foolish, jealous wife to malicious, ongoing public threat. The DA's office immediately launched an investigation into the source of the CPS call. The Revenge Part 2. Simultaneously, my lawyer had one of his partners draft a civil suit, Julian v. Alara, last name. The suit is for defamation, for the original burglary claim, malicious prosecution, and intentional infliction of emotional distress, for the CPS call. This is no longer just my divorce. This is a separate, massive lawsuit from Julian seeking significant damages for the attack on his reputation and his family. The fallout. The CPS case was, of course, closed as unfounded within 48 hours. Julian is a model father, and the claims were transparently absurd. But the stress and fear are real. Alara's parents called me, screaming this time. "Arthur, a lawsuit? You're suing her? She has nothing. You're trying to take our money. You should be proud. Your daughter just escalated from a liar to a child endangerer. She tried to take Julian's daughter. So yes, we are going to take everything." You're a monster, Leo. A monster. No, Beatrice, I'm just the guy holding the camera. Your daughter is the one staging the horror movie. You're all going to have to watch it. I hung up and blocked their numbers too. Julian and I met last night. He looked exhausted. "I'm sorry, man," I told him, and my voice cracked. "I'm so sorry. I brought this person into our lives. I should have seen what she was." Julian just looked at me. "You didn't. She fooled you. She fooled everyone. But she's not fooling anyone now. We finish this. Together." She crossed a line. A big, bright, uncrossable line. She went after a kid. No more mercy. No more holding back. My lawyer is cleared to burn it all to the ground. Final update. It's been 6 months. It's over. Here's how the house of cards Alara built finally came down. The criminal case, the DA's investigation into the CPS call, was the kill shot. They subpoenaed the records for the anonymous call. It came from a prepaid burner phone app, but the app was purchased on an iTunes account, which was registered to Beatrice, Alara's mom. When confronted, Beatrice and Arthur tried to take the fall. They claimed they made the call. that they were genuinely concerned for Maya's welfare after Alara told them how unstable Julian and I were. The DA didn't buy it for a second. They saw it as a clear conspiracy. Alara was facing a trial for the false report and new felony charges for the CPS report, conspiracy, criminal harassment. Her lawyer finally saw the writing on the wall. She was offered a global plea deal. She pled guilty to 1 count of filing a false police report and 1 count of criminal harassment. Her sentence, no jail time. This is the realistic part I was prepared for. First-time offender, nonviolent. 2 years of stringent probation, a $10,000 fine. 1,000 hours of community service. Mandatory psychiatric evaluation and court-ordered therapy/anger management for the full 2 years. A permanent, 10-year restraining order forbidding her from contacting me, Julian, or his daughter Maya. Violation means immediate jail time. The divorce. Her guilty plea in the criminal case absolutely gutted her divorce claims. The judge in a pretrial hearing basically told her lawyer that her demands were frivolous and offensive. The house, I keep it, 100%. Premarital, and her conduct, specifically faking a crime in it, voided any claim of contribution she might have had. The business, I and Julian keep it, 100%. Her claim of being an unpaid consultant was dismissed with extreme prejudice. Alimony, 0, none. The judge cited her egregious criminal conduct against her spouse's business partner as an act of economic dissipation against the marriage. But, and this is the part that stings, the part that makes it real, I didn't get out clean. We had to split the liquid assets accumulated during the marriage. This meant I had to liquidate a brokerage account and write her a check for her half. It was for $82,450. It felt like swallowing glass. I had to pay her to leave after everything. I wasn't a hero who lost nothing. I took a real painful financial hit. She was smirking when her lawyer told her the number. The civil suit, Julian's revenge. This is where the justice happened. Alara's parents, Arthur and Beatrice, were also named in the civil suit as co-conspirators in the CPS harassment. They were facing a public humiliating trial. Their lawyer advised them to settle, quickly. They settled out of court. The evidence, the guilty plea, the iTunes trace was undeniable. The settlement amount, $100,000. $80,000 of it went to Julian for legal fees, damages, and therapy for him and Maya. The other $20,000 was a mandated, court-overseen deposit into a college trust fund for Maya, which Alara and her parents are forbidden from ever touching. So let's do the math. I paid Alara $82,450. Alara and her parents, who had to foot the bill, paid Julian and his daughter $100,000. I essentially paid my best friend's damages via my psycho ex-wife. It's the most bizarre, karmic, and satisfying transfer of funds I've ever seen. That smirk was wiped right off her face when her civil lawyer told her the settlement would eat her entire divorce payout, and then some. The aftermath. My grandfather's drafting tools are back from evidence. They're on my desk. They look the same. Julian and I are fine. The business is fine. His daughter is fine. Our friendship is obviously stronger than ever. I hear through the grapevine, a former mutual who apologized profusely, that Alara is living in her parents' guest room. Her $10 fine and community service start next month. Her probation terms make it hard to get a job. Her parents are apparently furious, as their retirement fund took a massive hit to pay the settlement. They're not treating her like a victim anymore. They're treating her like the bad investment she is. She's bitter, angry, and blames everyone but herself. She got what she wanted. I'm no longer in her life. She just didn't account for the cost. As for me, I'm in therapy. My trust in people is, well, it's shot. It cost me a lot of money and a lot of peace. But the house is quiet. It's my house again. I sold her furniture and bought a new couch. It's over. She played a stupid, evil game and she lost. My girlfriend said, "You're being too clingy and needy." When I asked to spend time together during my family emergency, I replied, "You're right, I'll give you space." Then I gave her all the space she needed, permanently. Her "I didn't mean it like that" text came too late. I, 28 male, got a call last Tuesday that my dad had a massive heart attack. He's 61, always been healthy, runs every morning, eats clean, the kind of guy who makes you feel lazy for sleeping past 7 a.m. So when my mom called me sobbing at 2 p.m., saying he'd collapsed at work and was being rushed to the hospital, my entire world stopped. I left work immediately. Didn't even shut down my computer properly. Just grabbed my keys and ran. On the drive to the hospital, I called my girlfriend of 2.5 years. We've been together long enough that I thought, stupidly, as it turns out, that she'd want to be there for me. Hey, my dad just had a heart attack. I'm heading to the hospital now. Can you meet me there? Her response, oh no, that's terrible. Is he okay? I don't know yet. I'm freaking out. Can you come? Long pause. I mean, I have plans tonight, remember? Dinner with my college friends. I know, but this is kind of an emergency. I get that, but I haven't seen these girls in months. Can't your mom and sister handle things for tonight? I'll come by tomorrow. I was too stunned to argue. Yeah. Okay, sure. I spent that night in the ICU waiting room with my mom and my younger sister. My dad was in surgery for 4 hours. They had to do an emergency bypass. When the surgeon finally came out and said he'd made it through, my mom collapsed into my arms crying. My sister was shaking. I held them both and tried to be strong while my insides felt like they were liquefying. My girlfriend texted me at 11 p.m. How's your dad? Hope everything's okay? Dinner was amazing, Batabu. We went to that new Italian place. I didn't respond. I couldn't. I was too exhausted and I don't even know. Disappointed doesn't cover it. The next day, Wednesday, my dad was stable but critical. Visiting hours were limited. I took the day off work and spent it at the hospital with my family. Around noon, I texted my girlfriend. Dad made it through surgery, still critical. Probably going to be here all day. Her response, that's good. Glad he's okay. Want to do something tonight? I feel like we haven't hung out in forever. Read that again. My father is in the ICU, critical condition, and she wants to do something tonight because we haven't hung out. I told her I'd probably be at the hospital late and maybe she could come sit with me for a bit if she wanted. The hospital? I don't really want to sit in a waiting room all evening. Can't you take a break for dinner at least? My dad might die. I'm not leaving. You're being kind of dramatic. The doctor said he made it through surgery, right? He's probably fine. I didn't respond. Thursday, my dad was moved out of ICU. Still serious, but improving. I finally felt like I could breathe a little. I called my girlfriend and asked if she could come over that night. I just wanted to see her, hold someone, not be alone with my thoughts. Tonight, I told my roommate I'd help her paint her bedroom. Can you reschedule? I've had a really rough few days. I mean, she already bought the paint and everything, like $60 worth of supplies. And honestly, you've been really intense lately. Like, I get that your dad is sick, but you're being kind of clingy and needy. Every day it's come to the hospital or come over or can we talk? I need some space to do my own things too, you know? I'm not your therapist. Not your therapist for wanting my girlfriend to be present during the worst week of my life. Clingy. Needy. Because I asked my girlfriend of 2.5 years to spend time with me while my father was in the hospital recovering from emergency heart surgery. Something in me just clicked off, like a switch. You're right, I said. My voice was calm, dead calm. I'm sorry, I'll give you space. Thank you, I just need you to understand that I have my own life too. I understand completely, have fun painting. I hung up, and I felt nothing. That night, I sat with my thoughts for a long time. I thought about every time I'd been there for her. When her grandmother died, I drove 4 hours to be at the funeral. When she got laid off last year, I paid her rent for 2 months while she job hunted. When she had a pregnancy scare, false alarm, I held her hand through 3 different tests and told her we'd figure it out together, no matter what. And when my dad almost died, she had dinner plans and painting plans, and I was clingy and needy. I made a decision. Friday morning I texted her, I've been thinking about what you said. You're right that you need space. I'm going to give you all the space you need. I don't think we should see each other anymore. Then I blocked her number. I know that sounds cold. I know some people will say I should have had a conversation, given her a chance to explain. But here's the thing, she had multiple chances. She showed me exactly who she was when it mattered most. I believed her. My phone started blowing up through other channels within hours. Her best friend texted me, "WTF did you do to her? She's hysterical." I responded, I gave her the space she asked for. Then I blocked her too. Update 1. 5 days later. So the fallout has been interesting. First, the good news. My dad is doing much better. He's out of the hospital, home resting, already complaining about the dietary restrictions his doctor put him on. Classic dad move. My mom is hovering over him like he's made of glass, which he hates and secretly loves. I've been spending a lot of time over there, helping out, just being present. Now the drama. After I blocked my ex and her best friend, I figured that would be the end of it. Naive of me, I know. Saturday, 2 days after the breakup text, my ex showed up at my apartment. Just appeared at my door at 9 p.m. like nothing had happened. We need to talk. No, we don't. You can't just end a 2.5-year relationship over text. You called me clingy and needy for wanting support while my dad was dying. I think I can do whatever I want. He wasn't dying. He's fine now. He had emergency bypass surgery. He was in the ICU. I didn't know if he was going to make it. And you wanted to paint a bedroom. That's not fair. You're taking everything out of context. What context makes your being clingy and needy okay to say to someone whose parent is in critical condition? She didn't have an answer for that. Instead, she started crying. I didn't mean it like that. I was stressed too. You don't understand how hard it is when you get so intense about things. Hard for you? My father almost died and it was hard for you? See, this is what I mean. You're making everything about yourself. I actually laughed. I couldn't help it. The absolute audacity. Please leave. No, we need to work through this. There's nothing to work through. You showed me who you are when I needed you most. I'm choosing to believe you. I made a mistake. People make mistakes. And people live with the consequences of those mistakes. Goodbye. Wait. She grabbed my arm before I could close the door. What about all the stuff I left at your place? My clothes? My makeup? That Dyson hairdryer was $300. I stared at her. Her father was in the hospital fighting for his life? Nope, she had plans. I needed emotional support? Sorry, too needy. But her hairdryer was important enough to bring up during what she supposedly wanted to be a reconciliation conversation. I'll box it up. You can pick it up from the lobby when I'm at work. You won't even let me into your apartment? No. After 2.5 years? After what you showed me during those 2.5 years? No. I closed the door. She banged on it for about 10 minutes, alternating between crying and threatening to call my landlord about domestic disturbance. Finally, she left, but not before screaming through the door that I was going to be alone forever with that attitude. Maybe, but at least I'd be alone with dignity. The next few days brought a parade of her friends and family trying to intervene. Her mother called me from an unknown number. Young man, my daughter is devastated. Whatever she said, I'm sure she didn't mean it. You need to forgive her. With respect, ma'am, your daughter told me I was being clingy for wanting support during a family medical emergency. That's not a miscommunication, that's a character reveal. She was just overwhelmed. She didn't know how to handle the situation. Neither did I. The difference is, I didn't make her feel like a burden for needing me. She hung up on me. Her brother texted me a long message about how I was throwing away something good over nothing, and how I needed to man up and work through problems instead of running away. He added that his sister had given me the best years of her life, and I owed her at least a face-to-face breakup. I replied, I spent 3 days watching my father fight for his life while your sister complained about not getting enough attention. I'm not running away from problems, I'm running away from her. There's a difference. And for the record, she gave me nothing. I paid her rent for 2 months, drove 4 hours for her grandmother's funeral, and held her hand through a pregnancy scare. What exactly did she give me, besides criticism when I needed her most? He called me a few names I won't repeat here. Then he sent a follow-up message saying his whole family agreed that I was emotionally manipulative and narcissistic for making her medical emergency about me. Her medical emergency. My dad's heart attack was somehow her medical emergency that I was making about myself. The delusion was almost impressive. Through all of this, my ex kept trying to reach me through different channels. New email addresses, Instagram DMs from accounts I hadn't blocked yet. She even tried LinkedIn, which was honestly impressive in a pathetic kind of way. The messages evolved over time. First it was, I'm sorry, please talk to me. Then it became, "You're overreacting. This is ridiculous." Then, "You can't just ghost me after 2.5 years." And finally, "You're going to regret this." I didn't respond to any of them. Meanwhile, something interesting was happening in my actual life. My sister, who'd watched everything unfold, told me she'd never liked my ex, but hadn't wanted to say anything. "She always made everything about herself," my sister said. Every time we had family dinners, she'd find a way to redirect the conversation back to her life, her problems, her plans. I noticed it, but you seemed happy, so I kept quiet. I wish she'd said something earlier, but I also understood why she didn't. The real kicker came when I ran into my ex's roommate, the one whose bedroom was supposedly being painted that fateful Thursday night. "Hey," she said awkwardly, "I heard about you and her. I'm sorry." "Thanks." For what it's worth, she never helped me paint. That night, she went out with some guy from her office, said you were being too intense and she needed a break. My stomach dropped. "What?" "I thought you knew. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said anything." But she did say something, and now I knew. My ex hadn't just dismissed my need for support to paint a bedroom. She'd lied about it entirely so she could go hang out with some other guy, while my father was recovering from heart surgery. While I was falling apart, I thanked the roommate and walked away. Somehow, this revelation didn't make me angry. It just confirmed what I already knew. I'd made the right decision. Update 2, 2 weeks later. The situation has escalated in ways I didn't expect. First, the guy from her office. After the roommate's revelation, I did some digging. Not stalking, I just asked around. Turns out my ex had been work friends with this guy for about 6 months. Lots of lunches together, happy hours. The kind of friendship that made her other coworkers uncomfortable. I reached out to one of her work friends who I'd met a few times at company events. She confirmed what I suspected. Everyone in the office thought they were either already together or about to be. "I always felt weird about it," she admitted. "But she'd talk about you sometimes, so I figured maybe they really were just friends." Now I feel bad for not saying anything. Don't. I wouldn't have believed you anyway. We never do until we're ready. Here's the thing though, I didn't do anything with this information. Didn't confront my ex about it. Didn't blast her on social media. What would be the point? The relationship was already over. Knowing she'd been emotionally cheating, at minimum, just validated my decision. But karma, as they say, works in mysterious ways. About a week after my conversation with her coworker, I got a text from my ex's sister. We'd always gotten along. She's actually pretty reasonable compared to the rest of the family. "I heard what happened. I'm not gonna defend her. What she did was awful. I just wanted you to know that not everyone in our family thinks you're the bad guy." I thanked her. Then she added something interesting. "Also, if it makes you feel any better, the guy she's been hanging around? He just got back together with his ex-girlfriend. She's devastated." I didn't feel good about that exactly, but I didn't feel bad either. Meanwhile, my ex's attempts to contact me took a new turn. She started showing up at places she knew I'd be. My gym, my favorite coffee shop, the bar where my friends and I watch football on Sundays. The first time, I ignored her and left. The second time, I told her directly, "If you keep following me around, I'm going to consider it harassment. I'm not following you. I'm allowed to be in public places. You've never been to this gym in your life. Maybe I'm trying new things. Try them somewhere else." The third time, the coffee shop, she actually sat down at my table uninvited with her own drink, like we were just having a casual catch-up. "We need to talk." "I really don't." 2.5 years, doesn't that mean anything to you? It meant everything to me. That's why it hurt so much when you couldn't be bothered to show up when I needed you. I said I was sorry. How many times do I have to apologize? You can apologize 1,000 times. It doesn't change what happened. It doesn't change who you showed yourself to be. So that's it? One mistake and you're done? It wasn't one mistake, it was a pattern. The mistake just made me finally see it. Pattern? What pattern? I was a great girlfriend. You told me not to bother you during your spa day when my uncle was in the hospital last year. Remember that? You were annoyed that I texted you about my work promotion because it interrupted your bachelorette weekend. You made me leave my own birthday dinner early because you had a headache that magically disappeared when your friends called with plans. Those are all out of context. What context justifies any of that? Give me one. She opened her mouth, closed it, had nothing. She started crying. The people around us were staring. I stood up. Stop showing up where I am. Stop trying to contact me. It's over. Accept it. I left. She didn't follow, but I could hear her crying as I walked away. Part of me felt guilty. But then I remembered sitting alone in that hospital waiting room, checking my phone every few minutes, hoping she'd changed her mind and come. She never did. The final escalation came from her mother. She called me again, this time from her own number, so I actually answered. You need to stop torturing my daughter. Excuse me? She's been crying every day. She can't eat. She's losing weight. You're destroying her. With respect, I haven't spoken to your daughter in 2 weeks. She's been showing up at places I go, not the other way around. Because you won't talk to her. If you just have a conversation like an adult. I did have a conversation. Multiple conversations. She called me clingy for wanting support during my father's medical emergency. Then I found out she lied about painting her roommate's bedroom so she could go hang out with another guy. What exactly is there left to discuss? Long silence. She didn't tell me that part. I'm sure she didn't. More silence. Then, I need to talk to my daughter. She hung up. I don't know what conversation happened after that, but the showing up at random places stopped. So did the contact attempts from her family. For the first time in weeks, I had peace. Update 3. 1 month later, final update. This is probably my last post about this situation. Things have settled into something like a new normal, and I'm ready to move on. First, an update on my dad. He's doing great. Started cardiac rehab, already exceeding his doctor's expectations. He's grumpy about the low-sodium diet, but my mom has become weirdly creative with spices. He told me last week that he's grateful for the second chance, and that watching how I handled everything made him proud. That meant more to me than I can express. As for my ex, the full picture eventually came out, and it was worse than I thought. Her sister reached out again about 2 weeks ago. She'd apparently gotten into a huge fight with her family over the whole situation. She wanted me to know the truth, not to hurt me, but because she thought I deserved to know what I'd actually dodged. The guy from her office? They'd been sleeping together for about 4 months. Not just lunches and happy hours, a full physical affair. That Thursday when I called asking her to come over, when she said she was helping paint and called me clingy, she'd spent the night at his place, while my father was in the hospital, while I was falling apart. The reason he got back together with his ex-girlfriend? His ex found out about my ex and threatened to tell his company's HR about an affair between employees in the same department. He chose to save his career over my ex. She was just a convenience to him. I asked her sister why she was telling me all this. Because my sister is already rewriting history. She's telling everyone you were controlling and she was the victim. I don't think you should have to deal with that narrative. I thanked her. But honestly, I don't care about the narrative anymore. The people who matter, my family, my real friends, know the truth. Random acquaintances can think whatever they want. What did sting, though, was learning that during those first few days after my dad's heart attack, while I was desperate for any kind of support, my ex had been actively choosing someone else, not just ignoring me, actively choosing to be with another man while I suffered alone. I let myself feel that, really feel it, then I let it go. The thing about betrayal is that it doesn't define you. Your response to it does. I could have spiraled, could have confronted her about the affair, made a scene, tried to destroy her reputation, but what would that have accomplished? She's already destroyed herself. She had a partner who would have done anything for her, and she threw it away for a guy who dropped her. The second there were consequences. The consequences have continued to roll in for her, by the way. Her work situation got messy after the affair came out. Her roommate told a mutual friend who told someone who worked at the same company. HR didn't fire anyone, but the environment became uncomfortable enough that she started looking for a new job. Last I heard, she's still looking 3 weeks later. Apparently, it's hard to get a good reference when your former supervisor knows you were sleeping with a coworker who was in a relationship. The affair partner got promoted and barely acknowledges her existence now. According to her sister, my ex made a scene at a company happy hour, loudly asking him why he wouldn't even say hello to her anymore. He apparently responded with something like, "I don't know what you're talking about," and walked away. She left in tears. Multiple witnesses. She also lost most of our mutual friends. Not because I said anything, I stayed quiet about the affair, but because people noticed the timeline. They saw my posts about my dad's emergency, calculated the dates, and drew their own conclusions about who was there for me and who wasn't. I didn't have to say a word. Two of her closest friends from college actually reached out to apologize to me. They said they'd known something was off about her behavior for years, but hadn't wanted to see it. Fair enough, neither did I. Her roommate moved out too. Apparently she was tired of the drama and the constant crying and the late-night phone calls with various family members strategizing about how to get me back. She told my ex that she was exhausting to live with and left. My ex is now living alone in a 2-bedroom apartment she can barely afford, frantically trying to find a new roommate. Last I heard through the grapevine, her mother is pressuring her to move back home because she can't afford her lifestyle anymore. The same mother who called me a monster. Funny how that works. As for me, I'm doing okay. Better than okay, actually. I spent the last month focused on what actually matters. My family, my health, my career. I've been helping my parents out more, which has been good for all of us. My relationship with my sister is stronger than ever. I got a decent raise at work because I threw myself into projects that I'd been putting off. Am I dating? No, not yet. I'm not ready, and I'm okay with that. The trust issues are real. I'd be lying if I said otherwise. I second-guess myself more now. Wonder if I missed signs, if I was stupid to believe what we had was real. But I'm also clearer on what I need. I need someone who shows up, not just when it's fun and easy, but when it's hard and scary. Someone who sees my needs as important, not as an inconvenience. Someone who chooses me, actively, consistently, even when there are other options. That's not asking too much. That's asking for the bare minimum. My ex texted me one final time about a week ago. Got through on a number I hadn't blocked yet. I know you hate me. I hate myself too. But I want you to know that losing you was the worst thing that ever happened to me. I didn't know what I had. I'm sorry. I read it. Then I blocked the number. Not out of anger, just out of self-preservation. Some doors need to stay closed. For everyone who followed this, thanks for listening. For anyone going through something similar, here's my advice. Believe people when they show you who they are. Words are easy. Actions are what matter. And you deserve someone whose actions match their words, especially when things get hard. I asked for the bare minimum, presence during a crisis, and got called clingy for it. She asked for space, and I gave it to her, permanently. Some people don't realize what they have until it's gone. That's not my problem anymore. Take care of yourselves, and hug your dads if you still can. You never know how much time you've got. My girlfriend said, I called 911 and told them you hit me so you'd come home from poker night early. The police were at my door. I replied, creative. Then I showed officers my doorbell camera footage of her rehearsing her story and punching herself. When they arrested her for filing a false report and wasting emergency resources, I, 31 male, was holding a full house when my phone started vibrating across the table. 11 missed calls from my girlfriend Becca. Then the text, come home now or you'll regret it. Stepped outside to call her. She answered before the first ring finished. Where are you? Voice shaking, but something about it felt performed. Poker night, like I told you 3 days ago. What's wrong? I need you home, right now. Becca, what happened? Are you okay? Long pause. Too long. Just come home. I'll be there at midnight like I... Forget it. Click. Weird, but whatever. She'd been moody lately. Went back to the game. 20 minutes later, unknown number. This is Officer Davis. Are you the resident of apartment 4B? My stomach dropped. Yeah, what's going on? We're responding to a domestic violence call. Your girlfriend states you struck her in the face. We need you here immediately. Time stopped. I've been at my friend's house since 6. I haven't touched. Sir, come home now. Drove like my life depended on it, because apparently it did. 2 patrol cars outside my building. Neighbors filming from windows. Perfect. My door was open. 2 cops inside. Becca on the couch with an ice pack, tears streaming, looking properly traumatized. That's him. She pointed at me like I was holding a weapon. Officer Davis stepped forward. Sir, your girlfriend says you hit her during an argument at approximately 6:30 p.m. before leaving. Impossible. I left for poker at 5:45 and I've been there since. 5 witnesses. He's lying. Becca stood up, face red, ice pack falling. He was drunk. He got mad when I asked him to stay home and he hit me. The female officer was watching me, calculating. Can anyone verify your location? Yes, 5 people. I have texts, timestamps, everything. Becca's expression flickered. Just a split second of panic. That's when I remembered. Officers, I have a Ring doorbell. Want to see what really happened? Her face went white. Pulled out my phone. Opened the app. Found 5:43 p.m. The footage showed me leaving, calling love you, see you later. Her voice, have fun, babe. Then I skipped to 6:45 p.m. Becca came to the door, looked both ways down the hallway, started talking to herself. Okay, he hit me. No, he pushed me first, then hit me. She slapped her own cheek, light at first harder, smack. Ow, okay. Checked her reflection in the door glass, smacked herself again. Perfect, he'll come home now. She actually smiled, then composed her face into devastation and went inside. The cops went silent. I looked at Becca. Creative. That's not, I didn't. Her voice was tiny now. Officer Davis looked at his partner. Some unspoken cop communication happened. Ma'am, filing a false police report is a misdemeanor. Misuse of 911 is another misdemeanor, and you just admitted on video to fabricating evidence of a felony assault. I just wanted him to come home. He's always leaving me alone. I was upset. So you committed 3 crimes? The female officer pulled out handcuffs. Turn around. What? No, I didn't mean he made me do this. He's never here. Ma'am, turn around. The meltdown was spectacular. Screaming, crying, begging. The neighbors definitely got their money's worth. They read her Miranda rights while she wailed that I was ruining her life. The irony was lost on her. After they took her, Officer Davis handed me his card. You'll need to give a formal statement tomorrow. Keep that footage. And seriously consider getting a restraining order. People who do this once typically escalate. Spent the night on my couch. Couldn't sleep in our bed. The whole place felt contaminated. Got a text at 1:47 a.m. from her mom. You had my daughter arrested over a misunderstanding? Drop the charges now. That's not how criminal charges work. But it told me exactly what kind of family I was dealing with. Game on. Update 1. Week later, Becca made bail the next morning. Mommy and Daddy posted $5,000 to get their precious angel out. First thing I did? Called a lawyer. Found this sharp woman named Patricia who specializes in false accusation cases. She'd seen this before. You did everything right, she said after watching the footage. That premeditation? That's gonna bury her. What should I expect? She smiled, not a nice smile. War. These cases bring out the absolute worst in people. She was right. Day 3, Becca's best friend called me from a blocked number. You're seriously pressing charges? Over a mistake? She was emotional. She committed perjury and tried to get me arrested for felony assault. Not exactly a whoopsie. You're gonna ruin her life over this. No, she ruined her own life. I just had a doorbell camera. You're such a jerk. She loved you. Funny way of showing it. Click. Then her sister started posting on social media. Vague at first. Some people are so heartless. Then more direct. Imagine getting your girlfriend arrested because you can't handle an argument like an adult. I screenshot everything. Patricia said to document all of it. Meanwhile, the detective handling the case called. Wanted me to come in for a recorded statement. Guy named Morrison, probably mid-40s, looked tired. You're lucky you had that camera, he said. Without it, you'd be the one in cuffs. I'm aware. She's lawyered up. Public defender's trying to negotiate a plea. But that footage, he shook his head. She rehearsed it. That's premeditation. The DA's not feeling generous. Good. He raised an eyebrow. Most guys in your position are emotional about this. You seem calm. I'm furious. But being emotional doesn't help me. Being smart does, he nodded approvingly. Keep that energy, you're gonna need it. Next came the property division. Becca wanted her stuff. Patricia advised having a witness present for everything. Don't be alone with her ever again. One more accusation, even if it's dismissed, creates a pattern she can use against you. So when Becca texted asking to come by and talk, I replied, "You can pick up your belongings Saturday at 2 p.m. My attorney's paralegal will be present. 30 minutes only." Her response, "Are you serious right now? I just want to talk. All communication through your lawyer or mine. See you Saturday." She showed up with her mom, her sister, her dad, and her best friend, like she needed backup to grab some clothes. Her dad tried intimidation immediately. "You should be ashamed of yourself. Getting a woman arrested. A woman who falsely accused me of assault. Potato. Her sister jumped in. "She wouldn't have done it if you treated her better." Patricia's paralegal cleared her throat. "We're here to collect belongings only. The apartment resident has requested no personal discussions." Becca barely looked at me. When she did, pure hatred. Started grabbing clothes, bathroom stuff, then went for the 65-inch TV. "That's mine," I said calmly. "We bought it together." "I bought it. You wanted the bigger screen. I paid the extra $600. Check your Venmo history." Her mom piped up. "It's just a TV. Stop being petty. Then she won't mind leaving it." Her dad stepped closer. "You know what? You're a small man. A real man would." "Would what? Let his girlfriend frame him for domestic violence? Interesting definition of masculinity you have there." He turned red but didn't have a comeback. They loaded her stuff while I supervised. When they were finishing up, Becca tried one last time. "I'm sorry, okay? I was stupid. Can't we just figure this out?" "Nope." "That's IT? Just nope?" "Yep." Her best friend got in my face. "You're really going to let her go to court over this? She made a mistake. She's got anxiety. And I've got a Ring doorbell. Funny how technology works." After they left, I found something under the couch, a small notebook. Her handwriting. Therapy talking points. Make him feel guilty about poker nights. Bring up his emotional unavailability. Get him to agree to joint account for transparency. Page after page of manipulation tactics. Ways to isolate me from friends. How to gain access to my finances. Red flags I'd missed. Photographed every page. Sent them to Patricia. Her reply, "Oh, this keeps getting better. Discovery is going to be fun." 3 days later, Becca's public defender called Patricia trying to negotiate. Wanted the charges reduced to a violation, no jail time, sealed record. Patricia's response, "Your client rehearsed a false felony accusation on camera, injured herself to create evidence, and wasted emergency resources that could have gone to actual victims." Counteroffer. "She pleads to all charges, takes the conviction, and my client doesn't file a civil suit for defamation and emotional distress. You have 48 hours. They didn't take the deal. Fine by me. Let's go to trial. Update 2. The entitlement escalates. The preliminary hearing was last week. Becca showed up in a conservative dress, hair pulled back, minimal makeup. The "I'm a good girl who made a mistake" costume. The prosecutor laid it out. The video, the self-inflicted injuries, the premeditation, the waste of police resources. Becca's public defender tried arguing mental health crisis. The judge watched the doorbell footage. Twice. "Counselor, your client is checking her appearance and adjusting her story between takes. That's not a mental health crisis. That's rehearsal." Set the trial date for 3 months out. That's when things went nuclear. First, Becca's mom started a Facebook campaign. Posted a long screed about innocent women being persecuted by the system and vindictive ex-boyfriends who manipulate evidence. Tagged me. Tagged my employer. Tagged my family. My mom saw it and went absolutely feral. Posted her own response with screenshots of the court documents showing Becca was charged with filing a false report. Interesting how you think video evidence of your daughter hitting herself is manipulation. Maybe teach her not to commit crimes instead of blaming the victims of her lies. Becca's mom tried to claim I doctored the footage. Multiple people pointed out that Ring cameras have metadata that proves authenticity. She deleted everything within an hour. But the damage was spreading. My gym membership got weird looks. The front desk girl, who used to chat with me, suddenly went cold. Apparently Becca's sister had told everyone there that I got away with assault on a technicality. I pulled the manager aside, showed him the court docs, explained the situation. He was cool about it but said, "You understand why we have to be careful." Sure. Guilty until proven innocent, even with proof. Then came the really crazy escalation. Becca filed for a restraining order against me, claimed I was harassing her family, stalking her social media, and threatening her through mutual friends. All complete fiction. But I still had to take a day off work, hire Patricia to represent me at the hearing, and sit there while Becca cried about being terrified of me. Patricia came prepared. Phone records showing I'd blocked Becca's number. Social media data showing I'd blocked her and her family on everything. Witness statements from friends confirming I hadn't mentioned her name in weeks, except to my lawyer. The judge reviewed everything. Looked at Becca. "Ma'am, you're currently facing criminal charges for filing a false police report. Now you're here, filing what appears to be a false restraining order claim. Do you see the pattern problem here?" Her public defender tried to intervene. The judge shut it down. Petition denied. And counselor? Tell your client that filing false legal documents is going to make her criminal case significantly worse. Becca burst into tears. Her mom started yelling at the judge about protecting male abusers. The bailiff had to escort them out. But here's the thing, even though I won, even though her petition was denied, people at work heard I had a restraining order hearing. They don't hear the outcome, just the accusation. My boss called me in. I'm not saying I believe anything, but HR is getting concerned about the situation. The situation where my ex is facing criminal charges for lying about me? I know, but optics matter. Maybe keep your head down for a while? Translation: you're radioactive until this blows over. That weekend, 11 p.m., I'm watching TV. Doorbell camera alerts. It's Becca. She's pounding on my door. "Open up. We need to talk." I called 911 immediately. Stayed inside. Let the camera record everything. "I know you're in there. You can't just ignore me. You ruined my life." She tried the doorknob, kicked the door, screamed about how I was destroying her, and she'd make sure everyone knew the truth. The cops arrived in 6 minutes, found her still there, mid-rant. They arrested her. Again, violation of the no-contact order from her bail conditions. Patricia filed for an emergency protective order the next morning, granted immediately. The prosecutor called Patricia directly. "Your client's ex just violated bail conditions. We're adding witness intimidation to the charges. Her bail's getting revoked." Becca spent 5 days in lockup before her parents could scrape together a bondsman. During those 5 days, her dad called my office. Got through to my boss somehow. Told him I was harassing his daughter and shouldn't be trusted around women. My boss called me in again. This time he looked irritated. "I'm getting really tired of this, but I need you to know it happened." I showed him everything. The court documents, the bail violation, the doorbell footage of her showing up at my place. He sighed. "I believe you, but this is becoming a distraction. I'm the victim here. I know, and I'm sorry, but perception matters. Let's get through the trial and this will all blow over." Perception. That word kept coming up. Patricia filed harassment charges against Becca's dad for the work call. Also sent him a cease and desist for defamation. He backed off after that. But Becca's sister picked up where he left off. Started leaving 1-star reviews on my company's Google page mentioning my name. HR had to get legal involved to remove them. Through all this, Becca's public defender kept trying to negotiate. Each offer slightly worse than the last as her behavior kept making her case worse. Final offer before trial: plead guilty to all charges, 90 days jail, 3 years probation, restitution for my legal fees. Patricia asked if I wanted her to accept it. No. I want a jury to hear exactly what she did, and I want the maximum sentence. It might not be worth it. Trials are expensive, time-consuming. I don't care. She tried to ruin my life. She tried to send me to prison. She stalked me, violated court orders, and sixed her family on me. I want everyone to hear what she did. Patricia smiled. Now we're talking. Let's destroy her. Final update. Trial was 3 days ago. I took the stand yesterday. Today they read the verdict. Guilty on all counts. The evidence was overwhelming. The doorbell footage played for the jury 4 times. You could hear the gasps each time she hit herself and checked her appearance. My testimony was straightforward. Patricia prepped me well. Just tell the truth. Don't embellish. Let the video do the heavy lifting. When Becca took the stand, she tried the waterworks. Talked about being emotionally overwhelmed and just wanting attention, not to hurt anyone. The prosecutor asked, "So you were willing to have the defendant arrested and potentially imprisoned for a felony to get attention?" I didn't think it through. But you rehearsed it? multiple times. Checking your appearance between attempts, that requires thought. No answer to that. Her character witnesses were a disaster. Her mom cried about her baby girl making one mistake. Her sister claimed I'd been emotionally abusive for months. Patricia destroyed that with the notebook showing Becca's planned manipulation tactics. Her best friend actually tried to say I'd probably done something to deserve the false accusation. The judge told her to stick to questions asked. Jury deliberated for 90 minutes. Came back with guilty on filing a false police report, misuse of emergency services, filing a false instrument, attempted witness intimidation for showing up at my door. Sentencing was today. The judge did not go easy. Ms. Rodriguez, you didn't just lie to police. You weaponized the justice system against an innocent person. You wasted resources meant for actual victims. You showed no remorse until you faced consequences. And when those consequences came, you escalated by violating court orders. You've made it harder for real victims of domestic violence to be believed. That, more than anything, is unforgivable. Sentence: 364 days in county jail, 1 day short of a felony, but still maximum for misdemeanor. Eligible for work release after 60 days if she maintains good behavior. 5 years probation after release. 500 hours community service at a domestic violence shelter. The judge's personal touch. $12,400 restitution to me for legal fees. Permanent criminal record. Mandatory counseling. Her mom screamed. Actual screaming in the courtroom. You're destroying her life. For what? She made a mistake. The judge: your daughter's mistake could have sent an innocent man to prison for years. She's getting less than she deserves. Bailiff, remove them. Becca was sobbing. Her dad had to be physically restrained. Her sister was yelling about corruption and protecting abusers. Meanwhile, I sat there thinking, this is what consequences look like when you can't manipulate your way out. Outside the courthouse, Patricia shook my hand. That was the most satisfying conviction I've seen in years. Usually these cases plead out. The jury needed to see what she did. Becca's public defender tried to approach. Patricia shut him down. We're done here. Your client's going to jail. She earned it. The fallout has been interesting. My boss called me the day after the verdict. Congratulations, and I'm sorry for the position this put you in. If you need time off, take it. The gym manager approached me yesterday. Hey man, I heard about the trial. Sorry we gave you the cold shoulder. People are talking. The real story's getting out. Appreciate it. Some friends who distanced themselves suddenly started reaching out. Funny how that works. Patricia advised me to be selective about who I let back in. The people who believed her over you despite evidence, they showed you who they are. She's right. Some doors stay closed. As for Becca's family, radio silence. The harassment stopped immediately after sentencing. Turns out when reality hits them in the face with jail time, they finally shut up. I sold most of the furniture we'd picked out together. Redecorated the apartment completely. New couch, new bed, new vibe. The place finally feels like mine again. Started dating someone new last month. Told her the whole story on date 2. Figured better to get it out there. She actually knew about it, had followed the case in the news. That doorbell camera saved your life, she said. Best $130 I ever spent. We're taking it slow. Trust doesn't come easy anymore. But she gets it. Ran into Becca's sister at a coffee shop last week. She pretended not to see me. I didn't push it. Some people will never admit they were wrong. The best part? I sleep well now. No more looking over my shoulder. No more wondering when the next accusation will drop. She's in jail. I'm free. Patricia framed a photo of the doorbell camera footage showing Becca rehearsing. Hung it in her office with the caption, "Why you always install cameras." She uses it to convince new clients how important documentation is. To anyone reading this, install cameras everywhere. Front door, back door, anywhere. Someone could claim something happened. They're cheap, easy to install, and they will save your life when someone decides to weaponize the system against you. Becca thought she could manipulate reality. She forgot we live in the age of video evidence. She wanted me to come home early from poker night? Well, she got my attention. Just not the way she planned. Currently working on a civil suit for defamation and emotional distress. Patricia thinks we have a solid case, especially with her family's harassment documented. They destroyed my reputation in my professional and social circles. Even though I won the criminal case, some people still look at me funny. That damage has a price. Becca's sitting in county jail serving her 364 days. Her mom's apparently trying to raise money for an appeal. Good luck with that when the video evidence is airtight. Life's not perfect. I'm still dealing with trust issues, still paranoid about accusations, still checking my doorbell camera obsessively. But I'm here. I'm free. And she's learning that actions have consequences. That'll do.